the matches are really offensive, and it's like welcome to the Thunderdome type feeling.
Welcome to the Exploring Washington State podcast. Here's your host, Scott Cowan.
This episode is sponsored by Thing. The Seattle Theater Group and Sasquatch Festival founder Adam Zaks present Thing. From August 26th through the 28th at historic Fort Worden in Port Townsend, you can enjoy a vast musical lineup, including Jungle, Modest Mouse, Father John Misty, and many more. The Thing Festival features 2 primary stages overlooking the Puget Sound, not to mention a variety of camping and parking accommodations. You can either book a 1-day or 3-day pass, and kids 12 and under are free, making this an event for the whole family. Come enjoy live music, art, and beautiful Fort Worden with us. To find out all of the details, visit thingnw.org. All right, well, welcome back to this episode of the Exploring Washington State podcast. My guest today is Ryan Perkins. Ryan is the marketing guy and part owner of the Oly Town Artesians soccer club, or clubs, I guess is maybe the better word. Ryan will correct me here in a second. Ryan, welcome. Thanks for making some time. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about you before we talk about Oly Town?
Yeah, thank you so much, Scott. Name's Ryan Perkins. I actually come from a football/soccer background. Played pretty high level youth soccer with the Olympic development program. The Sounders, I traveled to Germany and played in some tournaments in Mexico, representing the United States down there in Guadalajara, and was a goalkeeper. Ended up being, all state for high school, both in forward and goalkeeping for high school anyways at North Thurston High School. Okay. But ended up actually going to the proverbial dark side of football and got a scholarship to kick field goals for the University of Washington. And I was recruited by some other schools like Oregon and WSU, Ohio State, and Iowa. Wow. Ended up choosing UW. Probably because my family was diehard Huskies and had some folks that just through the generations loved Husky ball, probably because of the 91 national champion team. So that's kind of my background with soccer. Is I played a long time ago as a youth, really high level, was pretty good, had late scholarship offers for playing soccer in college. But at that point, I already committed my junior year of high school to play football. Okay. So I returned to the game, immediately kind of graduated in 2009 from UW and tried to play semi-professional with my friends, but there was no team in Olympia or Tacoma, Federal Way, Gig Harbor. There was nothing. So we had to drive to downtown Seattle to basically play semi-professional / even some professional tryouts. And then I ended up with the Artesians later on with their arena team. And ever since I've been more in a front office position until I purchased the club last year.
Well, that's awesome. So I have to ask this question. I think you are the first Division I football player that I've ever talked to. You were a kicker and you got recruited by Oregon and Iowa and Ohio State. I mean, those are really great programs. So you obviously, as a high school kid, showed immense talent enough to have those conversations for like Ohio State to offer you something. So you played for the Huskies. You played was it Pac-12 back then? Yeah, it would be Pac-12. Okay.
Pac-10 yeah. When I played, and then I went Pac-12 kind of right afterwards.
So during your collegiate career, where was the worst place for you to kick at? Where was the toughest environment?
I actually thought University of Oregon's really cool because it's right on top of the field. There's literally no space between you and the fans. Right. And it's funny, the police actually come into the team room before we travel down there, and our staff that basically says, don't engage with the fans. They're going to throw things at you. They're going to throw batteries at you that are AAAs. Like, keep your helmet on. So you're not allowed to take off your helmet basically in Oregon.
Oh.
At Autzen. Yeah, real interesting.
Wow.
University of Hawaii was actually really great because they have the haka. They do the haka presentation, and they have these stacks of speakers and bass, and basically they try and the dancers intimidate you like these warriors, these haka warriors. Over in Hawaii when we played against the University of Hawaii, and that was really cool. I think an intimidation factor. It was really kind of neat and fun, and It was loud.
And then, in your opinion, what was the most memorable play that you participated in for you? Because I didn't look up your stats. Did you ever kick like a game winner in the fourth quarter? Did you what was the like you're like, this is it for me. This is it.
Yeah.
This is my signature.
Well, I would say there's a couple that stand out. There was one for me personally where we played against Cal at Husky Stadium, and we won, and I had a few field goals. It was on national television on ABC, I believe.
Okay.
And I had a really great 45-yard field goal. It was like my third on the day, and it was just one of those days where it's just like everything was perfect as a kicker for me. But I would say the most memorable play that I'll always remember was we returned a kickoff in the Apple Cup my junior year at Husky Stadium for a touchdown, and sold out, wall-to-wall people. And I remember running from the other side of the field to go kick this PAT, and I'm running down the middle of Husky Stadium, and it's just this noise in this wall of blurred vision. Like, I'm running down the middle of Husky Stadium at the Apple Cup to go kick an extra point, which is basic, right? Very basic moment, but it was so loud to be in the Apple Cup at Husky Stadium, and I had a good day that day. Made a few field goals. That was when we were playing at Husky Stadium. I think that was 2007 in the Apple Cup, and I'll just never forget that. That was the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life. Is a return touchdown. Between the Cougars and the Huskies, it's a big deal.
All right, I guess I got really one more question. To your two-part question. What was maybe the longest field goal you kicked for the Huskies? And then the other side of that question is, in practice, what's the longest you ever kicked one?
Yeah. So I should probably preface this answer with, I actually had my knee reconstructed. I had my ACL, MCL, LCL, PCL torn my freshman year with the Huskies. So I had a reconstructed knee when I kicked actually for the Huskies my junior and senior year. So I had like a full sophomore year recovery from a massive knee reconstruction surgery. I actually took 2 surgeries at that time to put it together. And I actually started after that. So my distance really changed between high school and when I started in college. So I think my longest was like 46, I think.
Okay.
In college. Never really tried anything longer than that. But in the East-West All-American game, I hit a 55-yard field goal so between my senior year and my freshman year of college. And then my longest in practice, I want to say it was like 65, 66 with some good wind at Husky Stadium with the team. It was the longest thing I've ever hit in terms of, I think, a practice hit. So it was like 65, 66. And that was my freshman year before my knee and my pretty bad knee injury.
Well, I don't think I've ever heard of anybody that has torn every ligament there. I mean, that's yikes. That's massive. So the fact that you were able to come back and kick at a competitive level's really impressive.
It was pretty crazy. It was actually stemmed from the purple and gold game where 2 of my own players actually got in a fight after a snap, and they fell into my leg and caved it in.
Oh no, that's okay. Yeah. All right. Well,
good times.
Good times. All right. So, but help me out here. So, like I've told you, I don't know very much about soccer. I know more about football, and I'm not a football. I never played or anything like that. But so, did soccer help you with football? Did football help you with soccer?
Oh, absolutely. The only reason I got a scholarship to go play, D1 football was because of my goalkeeping training and years, and kicking the ball downfield, punting. I was probably a better punter than I was place kicker. I think I had like a 47-yard average in high school.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's actually from the line of scrimmage. So add, 10 to 15 yards onto that. And that was my average. And so the soccer piece, playing goalkeeper, goal kicks and punting, my body was used to kicking a ball very, very far.
Okay. All right. So when you were growing up, did you ever think you'd own a football club, a soccer club? Was that ever anything in your cards for you?
No. I was more probably interested in playing. In fact, there's a lot of regret that I have that I committed to football my junior year, and I think there's some principle, some pride and principle that I couldn't go back on my offer and my acceptance to the Huskies because I didn't get my scholarship offers for soccer until literally June of my senior year. Like I'm about to walk.
Oh, geez.
And I finally got my offers, but I was reporting to the University of Washington in literally 2 weeks for early campus arrival. So it was like, there's a piece of me that was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know this was going to happen. And what did I do? Because I think my passion was soccer and football was just my proverbial meal ticket. Like I get my education paid for and I get to go play D1 football. So it was like really conflicting for me at the time.
Okay. Yeah, and then you add in a massive knee surgery.
Hindsight's 2020, right?
Yeah.
Man, if I would have played soccer, I never would have had this debilitating injury that's caused so much grief even for me and my arthritis at the ripe age of 35 and
so
knee
you
replacement.
I'm sorry, this is a really, but does the knee bother you in day-to-day activity?
Oh, it's awful. It's it grinds, it hurts. Doctors tell me all the time to get a total knee replacement, but I'm only 35. I still like to run and play and go skiing and even put up with the pain for a few days afterwards. And so, it's rough, man.
Okay. So why don't you tell us about what's the backstory here for the Oly Town Artesians? Or is it Artesians? It should be Artesian. Yeah.
Artesians.
Yeah, Artesians. Yeah. It's the water. You probably don't. Well,
it's the water.
It's the water.
Beer. Olympia beer.
Yeah. So what's the backstory there? How did this all come about? And then how did you get in? I mean, you were a player originally, but how did all this come to where we are today?
Yeah, so the region actually really didn't have a whole lot of semi-professional lower division soccer. And in 2014, the club was founded by a gentleman named Brandon Sparks, which is kind of a sports marketing guru that really wanted to bring soccer to the South Sound. And so it started with an indoor team, which competed in basically what we kind of generalized as a farm league for the major arena soccer league, which is the professional, like the Tacoma Stars that play out of the Showwear Center in Kent. Okay. And so the Oly Town Artesians first and foremost started as a men's arena team playing against about 4 or 5 other teams around the region that had access to an indoor soccer facility. And so that's where it started. I played goalkeeper for a couple years for that. That team, the arena team for the Oly Town Artesians. And then eventually, these are a bunch of young guys that come out and play a lot of college, a lot of post-college, some professionals that come out that just want to work out and keep fit in the winter. Mm-hmm. So at some point, I was a little aged and talented out, skill set out, because there's just a bunch of young guys who are super fit and kicking butt. So I actually didn't want to let go, and I ended up in the administration side doing like sponsorships and management and things like that. And so the programs have escalated from there. So starting with the men's indoor, today we have 5 teams. We have men's and women's arena league, and then we have men's and women's outdoor, but we have 3 teams in outdoor right now. So it's there's a lot going on now compared to back then in 2014.
Wow. Total soccer novice question. In your opinion, what's the difference between indoor soccer and outdoor soccer?
Oh, it's a completely different game. It's like, imagine like watching hockey, but with a soccer ball. There's boards, there's glass, there's like shots nonstop. The goalkeeping action is crazy because even if you miss, it goes off a board and becomes an immediate rebound shot. And it's like just constant, like entertaining, sports. It's like some games are like 9-5 or like 11-8, it's
Wow.
like insane. And it's just back and forth, a lot of wall play, a lot of different plays that can be made. It's almost like basketball meets hockey, but with a soccer ball. There's plays, there's development, and there's just nonstop. And then the outdoor game, it's really spread out. You're looking at 120 yard long field by 60 yards wide, and there's a lot of space to develop and slow down the game, and it has to be way more strategic. And it's not as like, in your face, nonstop action.
Is there a kind of a similarity between, say, indoor soccer and outdoor soccer to like arena league football? And
oh yeah, that's a great analogy.
Much more of an offensive game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, especially in some of the arenas here in the Puget Sound and in our home court, our home field. Like you can take a few steps out of the defensive third, and you'll be in the offensive third.
So like how big is your field?
Ours is about 45, 50 yards.
Oh.
Probably more towards that 40, 45, whereas the other fields are about 20 yards longer. I don't have the regulation size in front of me, but there are significantly less than 120 yard outdoor field. It's like half of that.
So what I know about soccer is from watching Ted Lasso. I mean, that's really not, I mean, it's kind of funny, but that's really accurate. So there was this scene where they were going to go play in the new Wembley.
Oh yeah.
And they mentioned that the new Wembley field is bigger than what they're used to playing on. So soccer fields can have varying sizes. I mean,
yeah, well, what you find is like some fields are a little bit less or a little bit more than regulation. So like FIFA, the governing body of just, international soccer, like there's some situations where stadiums when they're made and fields when they're made that they don't exactly meet certain standards, or there's a window. So, as long as you're close, like people aren't going to bug you about, 5 or 10 yards, especially as it becomes a construction issue, like, drainage and pipes and electric. Like sometimes you just have to change something with the field. So
gotcha. So that actually makes me I don't want to say like soccer more, but it's like baseball. Every baseball stadium's a little different, right? They've all got, quirks, like, 420-foot center field wall that's 12 feet high. No one's going to hit it out of that versus Boston that, I might be able to hit it out in Boston. So the fact that there can be these variables is kind of cool. Okay.
Oh yeah. People love to actually come down to us because the matches are really offensive, and it's like welcome to the Thunderdome type feeling, like this place is fun. It's like we get to shoot all the time. We can shoot from anywhere, and it's like loud and it's exciting. Whereas some of the other fields are a lot longer and not as exciting. There's more buildup and more strategy and more space. So,
okay. Your team in the USL 2. This is your first season in the USL 2?
It is. We just signed in January with USL. So.
Right. So so my understanding is there's 6 teams in the Northwest Division?
Yes.
And you and Ballard FC are the only 2 in Washington State.
Yeah, we both joined. This is our first inaugural season. So
how has that been?
We probably have really different experiences on how the rollout's been and the planning. Obviously, we actually, our conversations didn't start with USL actually until literally Christmas this last year, where it was kind of like, hey, we're vetting, we're growing, we're expanding. You guys have a pretty large footprint and followers and broadcast, and you guys have a really great game day experience with the lower division semi-pro leagues. The word on the street is you guys can really positively impact an expansion with USL2. Do you want to join? And we need you to start like in a few months. And so it was a whirlwind, but it made a lot of sense for a lot of reasons, both business and soccer. So for us, it's been intense. It's been intense trying to follow all the new regulations, all the new constraints, and trying to recruit players into Olympia, which is on an island between Seattle and Portland in terms of like actually, finding talent, from the professional level, semi-professional level, and colleges. And so for us, it's been very intense. Or even just to find a coach that doesn't already have a maxed out schedule in the South Sound, and then also trying to like get coaches from Seattle and Tacoma that are willing to fight traffic all the way to Olympia.
There's no traffic between Tacoma and Olympia. Come on, man. Don't keep spreading that rumor. I used to make that drive every day. There's no traffic.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That JBLM on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday night can be interesting. The old zipper lane move is what I say. Get the zipper lane move.
I used to live off of Highway 512.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Okay.
You know what's up.
And my office was on Pacific Avenue there in Olympia. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
By the what used to be Mullinex Ford. It's so that area of town, the little, east of. Yeah. Okay. And on a good day, it was 28 miles. And it would take me 45 minutes. Wow. My personal record was 4.5 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, because,
That's
if there's
insane.
a big accident and you can't jump off to Yelm, you're stuck.
Yeah. You're in a bad place.
So, I mean, for coaches, I can see that would be a little, say I was qualified, I probably wouldn't want to do it because I'm like, I don't want to sit in this stuff. I just don't want to do it.
Oh yeah. It was tough. Yeah.
So how did you go about, let's talk about, building this roster then. So you basically had to build this roster. You had about 6 months, right? Because you started playing in like May. So actually 4 months maybe. Yeah.
We tried to do this exhibition piece where we get some practice games in April and May. Mm-hmm. And what we really found is that a lot of D1, D2, D3 schools have a spring college season. Yep. And so even though we had this idea that we would start early, train, develop players, get used to each other, build camaraderie, get some games in, we actually didn't get 50 to 70% of our roster until May 1st or May 10th.
Wow. And when was your first match?
May 21st. Wow. And so we had this giant pool of players that tried out for us, which had a lot of great athletes and some that were just kind of hoping that they would make it. And then it basically dwindled down into, we've had these exhibitions, we had some good signings, and then all of a sudden May 5th and 10th hit, and it was we had another 10 guys show up out of nowhere that were significantly more talented and skill set or used to that level of play. And so they kind of ended up making the starting roster so we could compete. Okay. So that's kind of how it went. So
from a quality standpoint, the USL 2 versus what you guys were playing it, how big of a jump is that?
It's pretty significant. It's there's teams that have full D1 starters at, UW, multiple, Oregon State. And then there's also guys that are professionals or international players that play for their international teams that play against stars. And so for us, it's you go from a league that has, sometimes even the league that we were in, the Evergreen Premier League, and some of these others, is a lot of guys that are maybe even a little older that are still trying to play. Some younger high school guys that maybe are really good at their age, but trying to compete at a higher level. And so now we're going up against former pros, current professionals, current Division I, international competition players that are traveling the world and playing Like we lost our star defender, or at least one of our better players, to an international competition in Egypt. That they're training over there for a month or two, and it's so it's way different. It's way better.
Okay, all right. So where are you guys playing your home matches at?
I'm actually really happy you brought that up. There is that's another piece that's really difficult down in Olympia is we play at basically the only options down here for a stadium that has a soccer field are all owned by school districts and schools. Mm-hmm. And so currently we're playing at Black Hills High School. However, it limits us in terms of like what we can actually accomplish to provide a really great game day experience in / sports entertainment. Mm-hmm. So like we can't have a beer garden. We can't, do fireworks. We can't do certain things. And it kind of limits us. So, in a perfect world, we develop relationships. We start coalitions for trying to get soccer stadiums and different things built out with cities and counties and stuff like that. So our hope is to develop something really great that we can show people like, hey, this region needs a, private public stadium. USL Soccer is here. We can have exhibitions and games against, Sounders, Timbers, Thorns, you name it. Soccer is here, and it's a huge sport, the Puget Sound. Like take World Cup, for instance. Seattle just won the bid to host a literally World Cup action with stars from around the world. And to think that is here, and Olympia doesn't have a single private public soccer stadium is really like, I think we're kind of behind. Whereas, Ballard has Interbay Stadium. There's several other stadiums in Seattle, Tacoma, and it's like, yeah, we kind of need to catch up here. And so we're at Black Hills right now, and it's a good place for us to play. It's just, it's a school district, so we're really limited.
So it limits a little bit of the sports entertainment aspect of it, let's say.
Yeah, and yeah, there's a lot of little things that, there's some stadiums that are really great that we want to be in, but they won't allow us to use the press box or the scoreboard, and it's like, how does that work? You know what I mean? Like we have a USL soccer team here that's willing to pay for a stadium, but you won't allow us to use the scoreboard or the press box. It's like, come on.
That's perplexing and disappointing at the same time. Okay.
Yes.
So you used to play for the team, went into, marketing aspect, and then you decided to put your money where your mouth is, become an owner.
Yes.
There was my understanding is there's a couple of other, with the new ownership group, there was a couple more partners, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a clear as mud situation, but I was kind of like the pseudo partnerships manager, sponsorship, and some general management. And there was a former ownership group, and there was just a lot of things happening post-COVID that took a lot of work to get this standing up again. Mm-hmm. And I spent a lot of hours working on, because it's passion for me. Like I love putting on game days and getting the players what they need to be successful. And so I was like super passionate about it. And so the old ownership group actually offered me the club. And so technically I bought it. And then what I did was I was like, hey, like we need to kind of diversify this management, and financially it makes more sense. So we started an ownership group. And we kind of taken on roles and we're all contributing in our own way. So there's three of us. There's Jason Smith out of Shelton, and then Matt Herrera, who's actually had every position in the club technically since 2014. So he was a no-brainer, passionate about it, wanted to put money in and help grow it.
Okay. So who's your coach this year?
So that's another thing. Also, symbolizes our issue with finding a coach here was, and it also maybe shot my own self in the foot starting the ownership group, is those two guys are two of the top soccer coaches in the South Sound.
Oh,
so Matt Herrera, who's, one of the owners, actually has coached high level club soccer. He's coached arena soccer, outdoor premier soccer, and then also coaches I think he's coached for 15 years or 18 years in varsity soccer, and been to state tournaments. So what ended up happening is we interviewed dozens and dozens of coaches, and it was always something. I can't make that drive. I'm already overcommitted with my other programs. And so what ended up happening was it was like, well, we need to stand this thing up year one. So, what happened was and then Jason Smith is also a coach too for club and high school. And he was like, and he's older too, demands respect. He's kind of an alpha male. And it was like, all right, well, why don't we look at Jason to coach year one, and take our time to recruit another coach down the road, that maybe wants to take the time to build this down here in Olympia. And then Matt took over our women's program, which is literally the most successful program we have right now. They're playing in a championship this weekend. But
nice.
The USL side is predominantly either former players or former coaches. So it's Jason Smith is our head coach. Our assistant coach is our previous captain of our team. His name is Nate Boatwright. And then our goalkeeper coach is in our Oly Town Hall of Fame. He has the most minutes, most saves, most shutouts over 6 years. His name's JJ Olson, and he's our goalkeeper coach. And so that's our USL2 staff.
Okay.
And then Matt just kind of heads up just overall operations for that. So it's all internal right now this first year because we couldn't find anybody. We couldn't find a single coach to commit to us.
So how often do you guys practice? Is it a daily thing? Is it, no, we just show up for matches, or is there somewhere in between?
Oh yeah, it's 3 nights a week. Sometimes that third night is film study or a walkthrough, and 2.5 hours of training, and then game days are usually either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, and so there is significant practice time, I would say, for a path to pro, semi-professional pro-am. There's a lot of different ways to say it. The USL is more pre-professional, because technically there's clubs in the USL that are owned by professional soccer organizations. And then also technically if you place in the top 2 in USL 2, you actually can go to the US Open Cup and play against, the Sounders, the Timbers, MLS teams. And so you really can't say it's semi-pro anymore because you're playing against pros, right. And you could potentially play against MLS, and things like that.
That's the one thing I'm getting up to some level of awareness about your sport. I heard that there's 140 teams in the USL 2, or something to that effect, right? And that's like I just was like, wow, I had no clue, zero clue that this was, let's just say 140 is accurate. We'll fact check it, but let's say it's 140. That's crazy to me.
It is.
I had no idea that there was that much.
I would say the best way to put the USL2 and like this whole kind of like this minor league pre-professional is case study, like Seattle, right? Seattle, massive metropolitan city. They have the Seattle Sounders. We have the Reign. And what happens though is it's so massive. It's huge. Like there's a massive stadium involved. It's pros, international superstars. But what happens is, there's a lot of communities and cities and towns that have fantastic soccer players. And this is kind of like that league that can build your brand as a player to be noticed by the next level. Because I think there's a lot of players in so many communities that either do not have the resources to get training or get airfare or get opportunities to be noticed. And like in our case in Olympia, it's not a pay to play situation. And we're able to bring in guys that are actually legit. Maybe there's a guy randomly from Shelton, right? Mm-hmm. That doesn't have a whole lot of money, maybe, doesn't feel like they can make it to a situation or a network where they can find a way to make it to the Sounders, but they can go to Olympia for Oly Town and make the team, which is not a pay to play system. If you're good, you make it. Like, we'll put a uniform on you. We'll provide you everything you need to be successful and go out there and compete. And then, you get goal of the week or save of the week. And now you're being noticed by the entire USL nation. And when there's a pretty big international following too. And before you know it, you're getting looks from all these clubs across the world. And all of a sudden, we're signing a professional contract with you in a second division in England, second division in Germany. And all of a sudden it's like, there you go. That's the stepping stone.
Wow. Right. Yeah. So it's a platform for you to get out there and show your talent, and you guys provide, the promotional opportunity.
Yep.
Which actually, that leads to a question. So are you live streaming the events?
We are. We actually have a full broadcast compared to a lot of other clubs. We actually have play-by-play. Sometimes we have even an extra color guy. Wow. We have a broadcast director, graphics, commercials. Like, we have a YouTube channel. We have Facebook Live. USL has a platform that takes the film and posts it for other teams. And so, yeah, we do. We stream it.
Is that how do I want to say this? Is that an income generating opportunity for you? Can you sell advertising? Does that work that way?
Oh yeah, it's definitely turned into that, especially with this USL piece. We went from having maybe 50 to 75 people watching a game to expanding to over 1,000 per game with our YouTube channel, Oly Town Artesians, and then also on Facebook Live. So our Facebook Live doesn't have as many as our YouTube channel now, but if we combine the numbers based on, year-to-date, analytics, the USL piece has, grown hundreds of %.
Nice.
And so it's good. So technically, because we're not a pay-to-play system, like, we are at the mercy of local businesses, sponsoring us. And in return, we have to find unique ways to market and advertise them, whether it's on a jersey or it's a graphic or a commercial on our broadcast, or we could take a title sponsor and name our field after it, and it's on all of our tickets and the USL website. And so, yeah, we have to be really unique in how we fund our programs. And so the broadcast has definitely become a piece of it.
Okay. So this is a two-part question then. Both the business community and the community. How is Oly Town? How have you guys been received by the community? I mean, fans, are you getting a good attendance at the matches? Are businesses stepping up and sponsoring the club?
Yeah, there has been a really good response from the business community, especially saying, hey, we've gone USL, here are the numbers that we're seeing from other teams across the nation. Would you be willing to support something like this and find ways to work together? And there's been multiple companies and organizations in Olympia, even downtown, that are like, yeah, you just let us know what you need, and we're gonna make this happen. Like, we're gonna get our employees out. We're gonna provide money. We try and market in return as much as we can. But there are, obviously, Olympia is not like a huge hub for massive corporations. You know what I mean? There's a lot of state employees in Olympia, so like we are not competing financially, I don't think, with a club like Ballard. So it's not like we don't have a ton of businesses here that are drowning in money and they can just hand it off. So
So are your sponsors typically like, I mean, I was looking on your website and like I saw Van Dorm Real Estate. And which is a local
Van Dorm, Well 80, Brew House is on our jerseys. Forma Construction, Dancing Goats Coffee is a new title sponsor this year. And so, pretty local. And definitely feels good to have, like, instead of like Microsoft or Xbox or Starbucks on our titled, jerseys, it's like nice to see the team go play against really high level USL teams. And they're sitting there and they're looking at a Well 80 brew house. What's Well 80? Oh man, when I'm in Olympia, I got to go check that out. I got to go get a beer over there, or Van Dorm, So I would say the business side of it's been a good response. We definitely need more.
Sure.
It's one of those things where it's, there's always going to be somewhere where we're lacking, whether it's coaching salaries, it's the field rentals with Tumwater School District increased 300% out of nowhere. So it was like what we budgeted for, and we're told what we were going to pay, like, increased out of nowhere. And so it was just like, yeah, we could definitely use more help. And so the community, though, aspect of it, like ticket income and fan support, season tickets, merchandise, we definitely have grown. We would have, 100 people or so come out previously, but now we're looking at, 200, 300 people a game. Okay. One of our challenges, though, is like our stadium, the stadium that we did have to go with, feels like you're leaving Olympia. It's like way by the Olympia airport, but on the west side. And we've got a beautiful backdrop of the Black Hills, Capitol Forest. There's some farms over there. And so we do feel a little out of the way.
But does the South Sound embrace you guys? Because, there's Olympia, but you got Lacey, you've got Tumwater, you've got, your coaches, one of your owners is from Shelton, which I know is a bit away, but, are you becoming kind of a draw for that whole South Sound metroplex?
Yeah, well, I think, yes, based on, like, we finally started trying to pay for some advertising, like, oh, we've got a backlit banner at the mall, you know what I mean? And it's got like a ticket information and like a picture, it's
right.
And so I think the biggest thing for us is, now technically we're the highest form of sports entertainment now in the South Sound,
right?
And in Olympia, I should say, and so I think people, when they hear about us, are kind of like, oh, wow, I didn't know that was here. I need to get my family out there. And I do get that feedback from people. But I would say, just kind of like you were saying before, a lot of people don't know that this league or like this kind of team or club exists, because people are so used to looking at the newspaper and it's like Seattle Mariners, Seattle Seahawks, Seattle Storm, the Rain, and then Sounders, and then that's it. There's literally, it feels like there's not really any coverage on what would be a normal media, source for people. Like, there's no coverage usually for a program like ours.
So does the Olympian cover you guys? Do you get your scores at least in the Olympian?
Unfortunately, no. I know that even our former general manager, ever since 2014, has tried to knock on the Olympian, and no scores, no schedule. I'm hoping to get some type of article this year, but the coverage is just tough. It's really tough. And I know Ballard made it in the Seattle Times, and there's things in unique ways I'm sure that they made that happen, but it would be really nice to make the local newspaper. It would really be nice.
Yeah, that'd be, we don't want to, we won't beat that horse.
All good. But
Yeah, no, I do get it. In very familiar with the, with that.
Yes, indeed.
In your opinion, So to me, it seems a little odd that there's 6 teams in the division, 4 of them in Olympia, or not 4 of them in Olympia, that'd be weird, but 4 of them in Oregon, 2 are in Washington. Do you anticipate that the league will continue to look for municipalities in Washington to grow?
Yeah, I think it's in the best interest of the league and the division to find clubs that are going to, compete and provide this level of play in communities. And, I do think, getting the division to 7 or teams, or at least, would be nice. So I do anticipate there to be more. And I know some divisions have, a lot of teams, like 8, 9, 10, and which makes it a lot easier, because what we have right now is like Ballard. We play Ballard 3 times in league play when we should probably only play them twice. And same thing with PDX out of Portland. We play them 3 times. So that way we meet the game threshold that matches the rest of the nation in order to make the USL playoff tournament. And so I definitely would. I hope that another couple clubs show up so we can round out our
so you
minimum.
Can play, yeah, Ballard twice, PDX twice, and then play Yakima twice.
Yeah,
arbitrarily assigned to town. Okay. What's the future look like for you guys? What do you hope for this whole? I mean, you've got all these teams and all that. So what do you hope over the next couple of years you'd like to see be grown within the whole Oly Town family?
Yeah, I think Oly Town's at an interesting crossroads where, there was this idea that we, originally it was trying to provide a space for people to play, compete at a high level, have the opportunity. And now it's grown to the point where, it's 5 teams, and it's really the deployment and the management's pretty insane. Whereas Ballard has literally 1 team. They have 1 team. All their resources and deployment goes into 1 team. And so for us, it's like, how do we get better at, it's like the whole In-N-Out burger thing, right? We're really good at making a couple burgers instead of the Cheesecake Factory that has 200 meals on it, and they're okay. So I feel kind. I think Oly Town's in a place where we're looking at, all right, how do we be great at a couple things instead of being so spread out and not focused. And so, we are looking at things. I do think that we do want to look at our women's program a little bit more closely, because they are so successful. They made their first championship. They're actually playing in Salem, Oregon on Saturday in the Northwest Premier League, which is a semi-professional league across Oregon and Washington. And so, what is the future for women's soccer? We took them into USL in January after competing for 4 years. This is technically only the first year that the women have been in the Premier League, but, what is the future for women's soccer? What does arena soccer, look like for the club? And do we consolidate programs? And I think trying to work with cities and counties and stadiums and school districts has really shaped that conversation as well. Like, what is our identity? And I think it really is moving into an outdoor soccer piece. But our arena league is just so much fun. Like, there's nothing to do in the winter half the time, and you come down, and we have a beer garden for our arena league. We have a beer garden. We have exciting, fun entertainment, a kids zone, so there's that aspect too. Like, I don't want to, cut too much or consolidate too much to where we're missing something, but maybe we have something in the winter, and then we have something really big in the summer, which is our USL piece. So, and then I think there's this youth thing that I think, I think it's really important to engage our youth, because Seattle is an hour and a half away with traffic, 2 hours of traffic sometimes, and it's expensive to see the Sounders play, right? So engaging with our youth is critical, because I just remember being a kid and watching high level sports and being so inspired And I feel like it'd be really awesome to engage more with youth, whether it's, academy type camps, getting the kids out to games, having them work with the athletes, the high level athletes, and maybe we do look at kind of like a camp series with our USL programs. And so I think that's something in the future that maybe we might look at, where we connect the community more, especially so there's not so much of a gap. Like, it'd be nice for kids to grow up and become stars, and then they go, "Oh, I'm gonna play for Oly Town. That's my hometown, and I have USL in my hometown. I'm not gonna go to Seattle or Los Angeles or New York. I'm gonna stay here in town. I'm gonna compete." So, yeah, there's some things there we'd like to consolidate and get better.
Okay. Well, this conversation could go on. I mean, I've got so many. It's so interesting to me to unpack and learn new things. So I could go on, but so when you're not wearing all the caps of team owner, putting on game days, all these things, what do you like to do for fun and relaxation?
Yeah, which is few and far between during the season. It's funny, but I've already scheduled with my significant other, Liz, and we actually have 4 boys at home.
Okay.
And we have a big blended family, varying ages, all the way from the youngest at 3 to our oldest is turning 16 in a few months. We're planning, family vacations. We also backpack. So I love planning, whether it's the Olympic Mountain Range or the North Cascades. I do like to do multi-day packs into the Alpine country. I'm a big, there's probably a lot of people that are going to judge me on this, but I'm a huge Dave Matthews Band fan. I love going to the Gorge Amphitheater and seeing Dave Matthews Band out there. And I love live music in general too. I have a wide variety of music, but yeah. I hear you laughing.
No. Here's my Dave. I have a Dave Matthews story for you that I think you'll find humorous.
Okay.
So this was probably 10, 12 years ago. So I was, for a little extra income, but for a lot of fun, I took a job as a chauffeur.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And so the Tony Bourdain over my shoulder, I got to drive Tony Bourdain. Okay.
That's cool.
So the owner of the company has a friend who helped the gorge out early on. They needed a water suppression truck and a fire truck to meet some codes, right?
Yeah.
So this guy is a commercial vehicle repo guy. So he had repoed a fire truck and he'd repoed this water tanker. And I don't know if he gave them to the gorge or he sold them to the gorge, whatever. But in return, he has his own private box seating at the gorge for any event that he wants to go to. He just has to say, I want my seats, and they give it to him. So they called me up and said, hey, we're going to go over to the gorge. We're taking one of the stretches. We want you to drive. I'm like, okay. And they go, you can go to the show with us. Okay. So I get everybody. We drive over to the gorge. We park the car. Of course, we can park in VIP parking. And we basically were like, celebrities, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Except I have to wear the black chauffeur suit.
Oh, no.
So do you know how few people would stand anywhere near me at the gorge? I mean, everyone that would see me as I'm walking through, they were like, just like.
Oh, yeah.
And no one wanted anything because they thought I was some like FBI guy. Yeah, it was like, no.
You're the narc in the gorge crowd.
Yeah, I'm the narc in the thing. So the next year I got to go again, say, okay, Scott, you can drive again. And it was like, you still have to wear the shirt and the jacket while you're driving, but you can wear shorts and you don't have to wear the shirt and jacket while you're at the show. But Dave Matthews is a great show, man.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of
you
split.
either love him or you're going to make fun of him. You know?
And it's exactly what you just said. My recommendation is, if you don't like Dave Matthews Band, at least go to their show, because it's a completely different experience than listening to a studio album.
Yeah.
So
yeah, The Gorge is a great place to go see music. So come on.
Oh yeah, it's even just for that alone, just to be there.
So
and see music.
when you go, do you camp? Are you one of those people that camp overnight in the parking lot type thing?
Oh man, I've graduated out of that crazy element. I did that in college, back when I used to see Dave there, and it's moved into I do off-site camping away from it all, and it's
away from the madness.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I made the mistake of camping there one time for a Dead show.
Ooh, oh yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Was it just straight Grateful Dead, or was it Dead and Company with John Mayer?
It was The Dead. It was after Jerry died, but before Dead and Company.
Okay.
So it was. I can't remember who was playing guitar anyway.
Wow.
But it was.
That's a good crowd, I'm sure.
It was. Yeah. It was a rough night.
Oh man, I bet.
Oh my gosh. So are you a coffee fan? I ask everybody this question. Are you a coffee fan?
I would say I have a coffee problem. I drink way too much coffee. I love it, man. Every morning, multiple cups, man. I love it.
So I can drink it and then go to bed. I can drink coffee at night. There is no such thing as too much coffee. So around Olympia, where do you go for coffee?
That's a great question. I would say I'd probably base it off what I've been drinking lately, because I've been really into it. I've always liked the Bad Dwarf and Bronson. I guess they call themselves Dancing Goats now. They literally just
they have changed their name to that. Okay.
Yeah, and they have this Capital blend that I always liked. So give that a shot. They've got some good, and they've got a roastery down in Olympia too. That's kind of fun. You can do some cuppings by the farmers market in Olympia. I definitely go with them. That's in my cupboard. I've been drinking that lately. Also, Olympia coffee. Roasters is pretty good. I sometimes go downtown and have something from them. I got a bag from them, but there is another random one too. I do try Cutter's Point every once in a while. I don't know if you've heard of them.
I have.
They do roast out of Gig Harbor, but
I think it's Gig Harbor.
Yeah, I got a buddy named Ryan Zink that I went to high school with that roasts for them. So even though I do love Dancing Goats and Olympia coffee a lot, and Dancing Goats is actually our title sponsor for soccer. They're the ones that, man, it's funny to drink. I always drank their coffee and I've always loved it, but it's weird to be now associated with their management and they're like a title sponsor, but it's cool because now I get to have all the reason in the world to go drink all their coffee all the time. So but I would say if I had to rank them, I'd definitely Dancing Goats, the Olympia coffee is pretty good, and then also Cutter's Point.
All right. Where do you go? In your opinion, this is your opinion, best place to grab lunch in Olympia? Or and when I have Olympia, I mean, you can say Lacey or Tumwater or something like that. We're not going to hold you up, but where's a great lunch spot?
Man, I would say this is kind of I wouldn't call it a dive kind of brew pub feel, but Tugboat Annie's. Dude, I don't know what it is. Tugboat Annie's is so much, down there in the marina on the kind of that West Bay Drive kind of. Tugboat Annie's is really cool. I love their sandwiches, their chicken wings. They've got you order the nachos, it comes out on a baking sheet. It's like I'm a fat man, and Tugboat Annie's is good. I would say a close second. Actually, I would say Well Lady is pretty good. I do like their chicken, their fried chicken sandwich there. Okay. The Tugboat Annie's, man, for years and years and years, I've always loved that place. But Well Lady in a close second.
Okay, and because you said you like to see live music, is there anywhere in the Olympia area you like to go see live music?
You know what?
And with COVID, everything got whacked. So
see, that's the thing is I do feel like if you would have asked me this before COVID, I would have said Rhythm and Rye. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Rhythm and Rye was it used to be the old Royal. It used to be a fun little. It used to have bocce ball and recliners and couches. You could get a drink there and see a band. But now, but I don't even think Rhythm and Rye is around anymore.
I haven't heard any, nothing, since I don't work in Olympia anymore, or even live in the west side of the state. I haven't heard, but my friends that would go there, they haven't mentioned it in passing lately. Let's just put it that way.
There's been some good acts though that come into, I think it's the Capitol Theater. There's been some good acts that come into there, and it's pretty fun to see a show there because you feel like you're going back in time too. It's kind of like one of those classic like theater, experiences. You feel like you're in the old days there. It's nice. But I would say that back in the day, Rhythm and Ride. Right now, probably Capitol Theater is probably the Olympia Film Society. I think it owns it. But
do you ever go see music up in Tacoma?
Every once in a while, I'll jam up and I'll try and see something, but it's usually at the Tacoma Dome.
Okay. Which is honestly the worst venue in the world to see live music.
Yeah, it is. And sometimes I'm surprised by some of the acts that come into the Puget Sound, and then I always look and it's like the Tacoma Dome, and I'm like, what? Why would anybody? Anyway, but I do feel like, have you been to the Spanish Ballroom in Tacoma?
I have not been there. A lot of my friends play there fairly regularly, and everybody loves it. Yeah,
I think it's like the Elks Temple, McMiniman.
It was like the old Elks Lodge, McMinimans, revitalized.
Yeah, there's a lot of bands that I love that play there, and
so like drop some names. What do you like to listen to besides Dave?
Yeah, well, like if it was going to be like local bands, there's a band called DBST out of Olympia that's really good. They actually just changed their name, and all of a sudden I'm blanking on it. I'm going to get in trouble for that. But like James Coates is pretty good. He's kind of like acoustic and electric. James Coates. Eldridge Gravy, the Eldridge Gravy Band. They're a local band. They're pretty good. The Space Whales in Olympia, you got to check them out. The Space Whales are pretty fun. The Space Whales. Let's see. There's one more in there that I'm blanking on it, but I think that's a good list. Good list for now.
That's awesome. All right, my get out of jail free card. What should I ask you that I didn't?
How to find tickets to an Oly Town game.
Dang. Thank you. That would have been a massive oversight on my part. Yes. So how to get tickets, where can people find you? What channels are you guys, are you on Instagram? Yeah. Where are you guys big at? Where can people find out all about Oly Town?
Oh yeah. So we're on all major social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Follow us, support us, stay tuned for updates on there on all of our programs and also our community events. But OlyTownFC.com. OlyTownFC.com is our website. You get tickets there. You get schedule information. Also find ways to be a sponsor or donate to the program. But we do have a pretty good YouTube channel now, Oly Town Artesians. You can actually watch all of our games. We have play-by-play. We've got fun little interactive things we do with the fans too, and you can win prizes. So we appreciate your support in advance. Everything goes into the team. I can't stress that enough. Every dime is put into the team. So all your support. You can also pick up like replica jerseys and scarves online too. OlyTownFC.com.
All right. I got one last question for you because you said scarves. All right. What's the deal with scarves in soccer? What's the deal?
Yeah, I couldn't trace the roots. I couldn't do that for you right now. But what I would say is, going across the world, there's just always been this, club and crest or chants that are printed on these scarves, and people hold them up above their heads and they'll wear them proudly to the games. There's winter scarves that are heavy and warm, and then there's summer scarves, which the material is like high def and it's cool feeling, even in 80, 90 degree weather. And it's just like, like baseball's ball caps, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Real simple. Soccer is all about scarves and replica jerseys. Replica jerseys is across everything, all sports. But I think scarves is soccer's thing. Scarves up, and shaking them, and it's
no, it's cool. I mean, I went to one Sounders game in my life, and it was an amazing experience. It was like, wow, there's a lot going on here, and I don't know really what's happening on the field, but what's happening around me is maybe more entertaining because I don't know what's going on the field. It was nonstop fan craziness.
Oh yeah, I feel like especially like those Sounders Timbers rivalry matches is there. I feel like there's just as much going on in the crowd that there is on the field. So
yeah, it's crazy.
It's fun.
All right. Well, much luck to Oly Town.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time to be here. But I love the fact that, that we're providing a sense of community within the community, whether it's with your soccer or baseball, football, hockey, it doesn't matter. I think giving the smaller communities something to identify with and rally around is really important to all the communities. And so kudos to you for doing that for Olympia and surrounds. And I hope it is continuing success.
Thank you so much. I couldn't agree more, and appreciate your time today and having some good laughs there. That was pretty fun.
Awesome.
Join us next time for another episode of the Exploring Washington State podcast.